A very good evening. 1,000 police officers have been on the streets of Bristol today, some in riot gear, as parts of the city ground to a halt. The police fought to keep the English Defence League and a rival protest rally apart. Roads were closed and barricades put up. Our Home Affairs correspondent Steve Brodie has been watching the events as they unfold. Steve.
Yes, thank you, Imogen. While trouble flared elsewhere, here on College Green, the Gay Pride event has passed off without any trouble and indeed without any policing. There couldn't be a greater contrast.
Police charged the anti-EDL protesters at Redcliffe. The horses were ordered up after the demonstrators refused to move away. The worst violence came towards the end of the day of conflict. During the rival rallies, police officers led by Avon and Somerset, assisted by colleagues from Yorkshire, Wales and the Met, had succeeded in their operation to keep the 300 members of the EDL and about 500 members of We Are Bristol and Unite Against Fascism apart. Minutes before, the rival groups threw missiles at each other at Redcliffe Walk, as the EDL marchers were waiting to be either bussed away or marched back under police protection to Templemead Station. The marchers convened just before lunch when there were clashes on Redcliffe Hill. A little after 1:30, the EDL left the wharf and began their march across the bridge down Welsh Back.
The march has now reached its potential flashpoint. The EDL have marched up Welsh Back and are turning left towards Queen Square. Over the other side of the dock is the UAF, who have been held on Bristol Bridge. Across the harbour, members of We Are Bristol gathered on Bristol Bridge to voice their anger at the EDL's presence in Bristol.
As far as I can gather from the EDL, have come from outside the city. They're being bussed in, they've come in by trains. We don't have that sort of racial hatred, that conflict, that antipathy towards the ethnic minority communities in Bristol. And I don't know why they've chosen Bristol to come to try and spread their particular brand of hatred.
The EDL march ended as planned inside Queen Square, where its leaders took to the stage.
You'll see Asian EDL members, you'll see black EDL members, LGBT members, and then normal, English, Northern Irish, Scottish, Welsh.
But it was after the rally that the EDL found itself under attack and the police were forced to pull their batons. Later, the ring road around Templemead was closed as the police contained the protesters.
Well, so far the police say there have been 14 arrests, and I suspect, apart from the obvious congestion in the city centre, the police are very pleased that their overwhelming show of strength has been such a success. I consider the fact that both opposition groups, as it were, turned out with much less than was predicted by the police, and I think that added to the police overall control of the situation. And I have to say that I think most of the trouble caused was by people opposing the right-wing EDL.
Steve Brodie in Bristol, many thanks.